Alright guys, we're back with the Monogram 1985 Fiero GT build. We're going to be looking at the interior, which I've just finished up, and I'll show you a couple of mods I've made to it. Alright, this is the entire interior tub of the 1985 GT. The tub is one piece, which you have to install the dash, instrument cluster, extra gauges, and the armrests. It's a pretty simple assembly, as it only takes one step on the instructions to put the whole thing together. Oh, forgot to mention the steering wheel also. It's a two-piece instrument cluster assembly, the gauge pod, steering wheel, dash, and two armrests. And this is the finished assembly. Now I've made a couple of modifications to it, such as I've added carpeting. As you can see, there's carpeting on the door panel, much like in the real car. On the floors. And the instrument faces, the instrument cluster bezel, radio surround bezel, the shifter surround, and the rally gauge, and the extra gauges, the faces to that, are all done with bare metal foil to simulate a metallic silver that these parts had on the original car. I've also painted up all the detailing on the radio, the AC controls, the center console controls. Now let's take a look at the instrument cluster. The instrument cluster has gauges in it. These gauges are from Model Car Garage. It's a nice little kit they bring that has a bunch of different gauges printed on clear acetate, to which you can paint on behind them and change it to whatever color you need, such as the pontiac, which is has all its gauges lit up in red. So all I did was paint the back of the acetate in red, cut the gauges out, back it up with white after the red. It was clear red from Tamiya with flat white from Tamiya also over the clear red. And that allows you to see all the gauges. They stand out nice and bright. Really looks good in the cluster. Now I've also added, as you can see here, the wiper stalk. And just below that you can see the tilt steering stalk. These were two details missing from the model, so I added that on my own. That I made from a little piece of a rod that I got from Hobby Shop. It's actually, well, let's see what I made from Hobby Lobby. Metal shapes, 0.025 music wire. I cut that to make the shaft of the wiper stalk, and then for the bulb at the end, which contains all the controls, what I did was I just took a bit of the clear part cement from Tester's Window Maker, just put a little dot of it at the end of the stalk. Then as soon as that dried, paint it all black, and there we have the bulb at the end of the wiper stalk, just like in the real car, as well as on the tilt steering stalk. Then after that, I decided that if we take a look at the real car, there are map pockets on each door. Now these map pockets are just vaguely imprinted on the door cards in the kit, to the point you can barely see them. So I decided I would just fabricate my own. And here we have, along with the piping, the two map pockets. The one on the driver's side you can barely see. But if you look real carefully, there it is. It is there. Those were made just by taking sheet styrene, folding it to give it the curved appearance of the map pocket. Then using that same metal rod that I used for the wiper stalk, bend it to shape, glued it in on the edges, and there we have the piping around the map pockets. Very similar to what's seen here on the real car. And then, of course, we have the small badge, which I just threw on there really quick. Just an extra little bit of detail that brings it in line with the real car. Now, all the parts go together very easily. It's really a smooth assembly. Oh, forgot to mention, I also added seat belts, as I normally do on the cars. There go the buckles there, and it's belts themselves, which will be attached to the body. But it's a pretty good assembly. The detailing is almost spot on to the real car, as you can see in the cluster here, with all the warning lights, the two smaller gauges in the center. Then we have the two extra gauges on the side, AC vents, AC controls, radio, ashtrays, shifter assembly, the power window controls. Everything is right where it should be. The only part that it was lacking was in the map pockets. There we have the center console along with the storage bin between the seats. And that pretty much completes the entire interior, which is the second largest assembly here after the chassis. Now the only thing left is to finish the body, which is going to require quite a bit of work, as there is quite a bit of black trim which has to be painted before assembly can even begin. So there we go, the 85 Pontiac Fiero GT. Coming together. I'm really happy with the way the interior turned out. All the seam lines on the seats are gone. It had quite a few prominent seam lines. Those were all gone. Small bit of shadowing added to the seats. The engraving of all the details and all the instruments is done very, very well. But again, this kit is from 1984. And it's an original kit from 84, not the repop, which was made in 2005. So this is when the tooling was new and fresh. And as you can see, in its initial run, it was a very nicely made kit. The interior is done in Tamiya light sand and with Model Masters leather airbrushed on for the darker brown, while the Tamiya light sand is from a can for all the lighter tan colors. And then the carpeting, which is almost like I think it was called a camel. I forget what the name of the color that was. All right, guys. Well, that's it for this episode here. I guess I will see you on the next one.